Welcome back to the Auburn Film Room. I'm Lauren Sisler. This is Cole Cubelic. We are now into week 4 of the college football season, and for Auburn, they have got to develop consistency on offense. And Cole, I think you would agree with me, it starts on the offensive line.
Well, there were some breakdowns on the offensive line, but I don't think that the issues with tackles for loss or penetration into the backfield or even really pressure all the time is just on Auburn's offensive line. Sure, they had their fair share of breakdowns, maybe some missed assignments, but I think in that group you have to go ahead and roll in running backs, H-backs, fullbacks. You have to put tight ends into that group and receivers because there's a lot of perimeter runs and throws that Auburn tried to make successful and at times couldn't because a block or two was missed, and that's not always on the front five. But we'll look at a play here, Lauren, that everyone's sort of talking about. It's generated a lot of discussion. Gus Malzahn alluded to it in his press conference with the mesh charge. First time I've heard it referred to as that, but to give you an idea of what's happening, mesh charge is the defensive end attacking the quarterback. The mesh that we all know, as Sean White takes a shotgun snap, is when he takes the ball and puts it into the belly of the running back. Now he can hand it off, he can pull it and run, he can pull up, and he can throw the ball. So a lot of different things can happen there with the mesh point. And the mesh between the running back and the quarterback is what John Chavis, Texas A&M defensive coordinator, is looking to disrupt. Now, normally on a zone read play, defensive end to the play side, if the quarterback is going to keep the ball, is not blocked. It would be similar if your back was over here and you're going to run zone read this way, this defensive end not be blocked. The quarterback's eyes are keyed on that defensive end. If he goes down to play run, you're going to pull it and you run, you obviously have space. If he plays flat, then you're going to go ahead and hand that ball off to the running back because he has a cutback lane where that defensive end is not coming flat to play. Texas A&M had not done this all year. And last Friday night, I actually went back and watched last year's Texas A&M Auburn game. There was no mesh rush, mesh bull rush, charge mesh anywhere in that game either. So I have to try to take you inside the mind of the Auburn offensive line and coaching staff as to what's happening here, because a lot of people just see this play and we'll just let it run. And they say, oh, Braden Smith can't block Myles Garrett. Or they'll say, why would you send your guard out there like that to try and block such a good defensive player? Now, part of this is Myles Garrett's an elite player, and he's got a lot of speed. But another part of this is you're trying to set other plays up for later, and there's different things that you would like to try to accomplish. So you'll go play action on 1st and 10, a play that even if they were going to tee off their defensive ends, you wouldn't expect it to be 1st and 10, first play of the game. 3rd and 10, of course. 2nd and 12, yes. Not this early in the game, not this down in distance. And you see Myles Garrett right here off the end, just going to basically explode to the backfield. Now, Braden Smith's not able to get there in time. It's not necessarily a whiff or a miss from Braden Smith. He's just not able to get there in time. So, quickest point to the quarterback is a straight line. Mesh point's going to be right around here. Braden Smith, through all their film study and all the scouting, Myles Garrett's been playing this flat, and then he'll make a decision if he wants to come down here and play the run off zone read or if he's going to stay at home and play quarterback keep. That's usually his responsibility and his decision that he has to make. If you think he's going to be playing flat as a guard, I'm going to pull out, open a little bit, and come flat down the line of scrimmage, because I'm expecting to meet him right in here where he's normally been playing it. Different deal if you're expecting him to come out here where this foot would open up a little bit more and you would basically pull to where Myles Garrett would hopefully be. Not to where he is, but to where he would probably be. So Braden Smith, if he had an idea this was coming, would change his pull path back here and hopefully cut off Myles Garrett from affecting this mesh point. This is the first play of the game, so they haven't seen it. And you can see where Braden Smith goes wrong there and just coming flat down the line of scrimmage and really unable to obtain Myles Garrett. See him flat, and he has to redirect. He's just not quick enough to make that happen against an elite athlete. So this is one that John Chavis got Auburn on. This is not a kid lack of effort. This is not poor coaching, at least on this play. This is just one that John Chavis saw something, made an adjustment, took a risk. This is a high-risk play. This is no different than a blitz or a slant or a twist or any other stunt that we talk about. This is a high-risk maneuver by John Chavis, and it paid off for him. It worked. He won. It's that easy.
And Cole, you talk about the mesh charge. We saw it last week. We expect to see it this week. But what else could we see from these LSU defensive ends?
There's a lot of different ways you can play it, Lauren. And we showed you a few different things where you've got these defensive ends from Texas A&M with mesh charge, like you said, upfield. We've seen them play flat. We'll take a look at how you don't even have to play the same technique on both sides. Right here you'll see Myles Garrett. Linebacker's going to walk up on the outside and blitz. Garrett's going to slant down inside. Now it's a nice adjustment by left guard Alex Kozan to just sort of run him by the play. Now this is just a zone play. So Cam Pettway is going to take this. Offensive linemen are just zoning left, trying to work up to the second level. And the capabilities of having a cutback play are very high in just a true zone scheme. So you'll see Garrett at the bottom. He slants inside. Nice pickup by Kozan. Pettway immediately doesn't like the cloggage that he sees over here. Probably knew pre-snap by seeing that many defenders this is going to end up being a cutback. And so Lauren, on the opposite side, Deshaun Hall, like we talked about, he's just going to play flat, the technique you would expect to see when Sean White could potentially hand this ball or keep. So his responsibility would be one or the other. Sean White can keep it if he plays flat. Different style of play here as Auburn is going to pull Chandler Cox across the line of scrimmage. He's going to get a nice block on Deshaun right there, and that opens up the cutback lane for Cam Pettway. Nice downfield block by Robert Left there to get to the second level. You get a better look of it here. There's the cutback as Chandler Cox gets hauled down. And there's different ways to combat different things. You get the mesh charge, you operate that a certain way. They're playing flat, you bring an H-back round, try to block, and open up some space for a cutback run. So there are a lot of different ways these ends can play it, some not as high risk as the others. I would expect Auburn this week against LSU, especially with an athletic guy like an Arden Key, to see multiple different techniques up front by those defensive ends.
All right, Cole, now no more meshing around. We're going to talk about Cameron Pettway. That was a good one, right? Cameron Pettway. They were able to finally find some consistency in the running game with him. Show us a couple of those plays and why this works so well for Auburn.
Yeah, I think Cam Pettway has been really a bright spot of this Auburn offense. He really brings a physicality to the group that I like. And you'll see when you get a different style of play, the defensive end is going to play upfield. I want you to remember that for when we follow this up with the next play. It's obviously giving you different run lanes underneath. Wide open space for the fullback Chandler Cox to bust through and get enough there. And also a nice block from your center, Xavier Dampier, who just comes off at the last minute on the linebacker and gets enough and allows Cam Pettway to sort of bust back. So if you're going to play upfield with your ends, who's going to have to replace your contain on the outside? Your linebackers are going to have to play out to play contain. So when your responsibility is changed, obviously different things happen. Now, we mentioned also this guy playing a couple different techniques. What was that first technique that we showed you that he normally plays? Flat down the line of scrimmage, waiting for that zone read quarterback keep. He either goes and takes the running back or he stays out to play quarterback. Myles Garrett's going to play flat down. Toss to the running back is a perfect play call against a traditional defensive end technique. And you see right there when Cam Pettway runs it out, you got a guy from the third level having to come up and make that play. That should be problematic on the back end of the defense later. So if that play is successful and a safety's rolling up from 15, 20 yards away to make that play out on the hash, that's something you should have been able to attack through the air later in the game.
Okay, now we look ahead to this game against LSU. John Chavis, coming from LSU, do you expect in this game this weekend to see some similarities in the way the defense is run?
No, I do, because John Chavis has Tayshawn Bauer and Arden Key. Arden Key is not a huge step below Myles Garrett. He is that athletic, similar size, similar build, and actually might be a little bit quicker and straight line faster off the ball than Myles Garrett. He's just not as bulky and powerful as Myles Garrett is. But he's a very similar style of player, and don't think that Dave Aranda, LSU's defensive coordinator, is not seeing what John Chavis did with his defensive ends at Texas A&M, thinking, I don't have to do this all the time, but this might be something as far as a changeup I can throw at this team so they don't get comfortable running that zone read over and over and over and be able to find continued success.